some kind of happiness. By Claire Legrand. If you are afraid, sad, tired, or lonely, if you feel lost or strange, if you crave stories and adventure, and the magic possibility of a forest path, this book is for you. Prologue. Once there was a great, sprawling forest called the Everwood. Magic lived there, and it lit up every tree and flower with impossible beauty. But even so, most people stayed far away from the Everwood, for it was said to hold many secrets, and not all of them kind. According to rumor, the Everwood was home to astonishing creatures and peculiar, solitary people. Some were born in the Everwood, and some had wandered inside, whether they meant to or not. No one in the Everwood got along, for they had no ruler to unite them, no neighborhoods or cities. They lived like wild things and kept to themselves, but they all loved the Everwood and its strangeness with their whole hearts. For it was their home, and it was all they knew. Or so the rumors said. Most people were afraid to enter the Everwood, but some brave souls made the journey anyway. Adventurers, witches, explorers. They never returned. Perhaps the wild creatures who lived in the forest had trapped them there. Or maybe the Everwood secrets were so enchanting that those who made it inside did not care to leave. Everyone who lived near the Everwood knew that it was home to two guardians. They were as ancient as the Everwood trees, and they protected the forest's secrets from outsiders. Throughout their long lives, the guardians had learned how to read certain signs: the wind in the trees, the chatter of the Everwood creatures. One summer, not so long ago, something happened that would change the Everwood forever. The ancient guardians determined that soon a terrible Everwood secret, one they'd kept hidden for years, would come to light. And if this happened, the guardians feared, the Everwood would fall. They would no longer be able to protect their forest. Its secrets and treasures would be laid bare. The people of the Everwood would lose the home they so loved and be forced out into the cold, wide world. So the guardians studied their signs, desperate for hope, and they found it. A small, cautious hope, as clear to them as though it were a page in a book. The Everwood might fall, but it could still be saved. Even then, the trees whispered it, the birds sang it. A fall does not have to be forever. All they would need to save the Everwood, said the guardian signs, was a queen. Chapter 1. Why this summer will be the most terrible of my life. I will be spending the entire summer at Hart House with my estranged grandparents. Estranged. 9-letter word for kept at a distance. My cousins will be there too, off and on. That's what Mom and Dad tell me. Oh, they pop in and out, Grandma says. Diamond suit, I hate when people pop in and out. Popping in and out is not very list-friendly behavior. Mom and Dad are taking me to Hart House because they are having problems and need some space to work it out. This, I assume, is a euphemism for divorce, or at least something leading up to divorce. Euphemism, 9-letter word for term or phrase, seemingly innocuous. I will be far away from my bedroom at home, which is the only place where I can be entirely myself. There is a heaviness pressing down on me that makes it difficult to breathe. It's true, I am finding it difficult to breathe. A heavy feeling inside my chest squeezes and pulls. I rest my head against the car window and watch the world outside race by. Pale green prairie grass and the wide blue sky. Old barns with peeling paint and lonely houses surrounded by cows instead of neighborhoods. I imagine I am running through the tall grass alongside the car. No, I am on a horse, a white horse with a tail like a banner. A horse from the Everwood. Nothing is fast enough to touch us. Mom is obsessively switching radio stations. I think she probably has ADHD, which is a term I have learned from listening to kids at school. Mom has a hard time sitting still and is never satisfied with a radio station for longer than the duration of one song. Her work as an interior designer is perfect for her. It keeps her hands busy. Dad is talking about things that don't matter. I wonder if this summer will be hotter than last summer. What's a 7-letter word for side splitting? I'm not sure I can get behind the new tone of this station. They like to pretend I don't sense the stiffness between them, that I don't notice how much more they've been working lately, even more than usual. They like to pretend I don't notice things. I think it makes them feel better to lie to themselves and to me, which is kind of insulting. I may be a lot of things, but I am not stupid. For example, I recognize how strange it is that I have never met my grandparents. I do know Mom's parents and her brother, though they live so far away that I hardly ever see them, and they might as well be strangers. But when I ask about Dad's parents, Grandma and Grandpa Hart, Mom and Dad fumble with their words, offering explanations that don't explain anything much. Well, Grandma and Grandpa are always so busy. It's a matter of scheduling. We're always so busy, your dad and I. You know that, Finley. I don't know, Finn. Dad often tells me. Your grandparents and I, we've never been close. Through my observation of the world, I have concluded it is not normal for a girl to be kept away from her grandparents, her aunts and uncles, her cousins, as if they could hurt her. Testing myself, I inhale slowly. The heaviness inside me has faded. I can breathe again. I glance at the back of Dad's head, at Mom's eyes in the rearview mirror. She must be nervous. She has never met Dad's family either. She is staring hard at the road, sitting perfectly straight, not paying attention to me. So she and Dad didn't notice a thing. Good. I am safe. For now. I will not think about Hart House, or about how my cousins will stare at me, or about pretending it isn't weird to spend a summer with my grandparents after years of not knowing them. No, it isn't weird at all. I cannot keep thinking about these things. That is a recipe for disaster. I check the reflection of Mom's eyes. Still glaring at the road, Mom? Yes. Good. I am safe. I flip past my pages of lists and to the portion of my notebook reserved for stories about the Everwood. I don't know what I will write about today. Perhaps about the Everwood's evil cousin Forest, the Neverwood, and their terrible 1,000-year war. Or maybe about the various Everwood witch clans and how people say you can tell them apart by the smell of their magic. Rhonda, my next-door neighbor, and probably the closest thing I will ever have to a best friend, says I am a huge nerd. She is probably right. Given my father's love of crossword puzzles, his job as a literature professor at the university, and my preference for books over people, I've acquired an impressive vocabulary for an 11-year-old. But when my parents sat me down to explain where I'd be going this summer and why, all the words seemed to fly right out of my head. I hope I can find them again soon. My notebook, the latest in a series of 12, has loads of blank pages in it, waiting to be filled. And if I'm going to keep my grandparents from discovering my secret, I will need to write. A lot. She is coming. She is coming. It was the beginning of summer. There were soft breezes in the air, and the Everwood was using them to speak. The ancient guardians used spells and charms to weave a golden cage around the secret at the heart of the Everwood. But still the secret grew and darkened, deep underground. It reached for the roots of the great Everwood trees like poison. Someday it would rise. Someday, soon, it would escape. But those who lived in the Everwood, the witches and the goblins, the barrows and the fairies and the wood spirits, knew nothing of this. They turned their faces to the trees and listened, as they did every day. Today the message was different. She is coming, whistled the Everwood winds. She is coming, rustled the Everwood leaves. Who? The creatures of the forest asked. Who is coming? The little orphan girl, groaned the trees. She carries a great sadness inside her. We must put our hope in her nevertheless. And the guardian stood at the edge of the wood and gazed into the sun, waiting. Chapter 2. When we make our way down Brightfall Lane and Hart House comes into view, I see a curtain fall over Dad's face, closing him away from me. He is driving now. Mom switched with him at a gas station at the edge of Billington, where Grandma and Grandpa Hart live. Dad told her outside while he filled up the car, I want to be the one to drive up to their door. I don't know, it feels like it ought to be me. I don't understand why that's such a big deal. Hart House is enormous and white, the largest house I have ever seen in real life. Hidden by a sea of green leaves, it sits back from the road, the only house at the end of a long driveway lined with trees. Our car and this house and these trees feel like the only things left in the world. For the next 2.5 months, this will be my world. I want to leave, I try to say, but my voice doesn't seem to be working. As we drive up to the house, we see Grandma standing on the wraparound front porch beside a column, waving. Dad squares his shoulders and plasters on a smile. Mom does the same thing, straightens her blouse, puts her chin up and her shoulders back. I hope I am not so obvious when I try to hide myself. I want to tell them about the stones piling up in my stomach. That my thoughts are tangled and wordless. My brain does not like being brought here against my will. It is shouting at me to make Mom and Dad turn the car around. Grandma Hart steps out the front door onto the porch. Dad shifts the car into park. His hands grip on the steering wheel hard. It'll be okay, Louis, Mom says quietly. You're doing the right thing. Does she think I can't hear her? What will be okay? What right thing? My chest is knotted up. I feel like a person standing in the middle of a crowded street. The person is screaming, but nothing is coming out, and no one's paying attention anyway. Grandma stands there, on that porch the size of our apartment, holding up a picture. Everything looks like a painting. Blue sky, white house, bright flowers. How can the world look so perfect when I feel so broken? There are so many of them. A swarm of hearts. They all have their own faces, but each face has a piece of me inside it. Almost everyone's hair is thin and blonde, like mine, but none of them have mom's freckles like I do. I catalog as much information as I can while Grandma gives me and my parents a tour of the house. 7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 2 living rooms, a dining room, a parlor, a kitchen, a sunroom, a rec room, a dark study with glass doors. This is Grandpa's private space. Children aren't allowed inside unless Grandpa says so. I am used to an apartment in the city. This house is a planet. I hear whispers, bare feet slapping on wood floors, bodies moving throughout the house. Some of my cousins are following us. Some of them scamper away and others take their place. I see adult women, my 3 aunts. There are smiles and hugs that are honestly painful to me because I'm not accustomed to strangers invading my personal space. The hearts are a storm, and I am its bewildered eye. I wonder what they're saying about me. I feel like I'm being dragged through a funhouse mirror maze that reflects distorted versions of myself. I see 2 little kids, much younger than me. A girl my age, another one a little older, and a teenage girl. The teenager is inside a bedroom, lying on her bed, playing on her phone. She glances up as we pass her open door. Her hair is a waterfall of gold rushing over the side of her bed. She looks irritated that we have disturbed her peace and quiet. She does not get up. "And this is where you'll be staying," Finley says Grandma, opening a heavy white door. "This is your father's old room. We don't use it much." "It's lovely, Candace," says my mother. I can see her work self take over. Gwen Hart of Gwen Hart Designs, your one-stop renovation destination. Mom silently critiques the paint colors, the fabric choices, the arrangement of the furniture. Over the bed hangs a miniature chandelier made of crystal and dark brass. Against one wall stand shelves full of books organized in alphabetical order by author. The curtains are lace and the rug is white. The wrinkle between Mom's eyebrows vanishes. She approves. I wish the wrinkles inside me could disappear so easily. "It looks so different," Dad says quietly. Grandma fluffs a pillow, not looking at him. "I redecorated some time ago. I didn't think you'd mind. We weren't sure you'd ever come back, so I thought, what did it matter?" Dad rubs the back of his head and says nothing. The room is full of secrets on Dad's face, hanging in the air like clouds of dust, but I don't know how to read them. Dad looks smaller than he ever has before. "Don't you think this is a beautiful room, Finley?" Mom's eyes are wide. "Say something nice. Quick." "Yes." It's exquisite. 9-letter word for mighty fine. I try to smile, but it feels all wrong, like someone else's smile is being sewn onto my face. "Thank you." Grandma's smile has been plucked from the pages of a magazine. She could be an actress. A ballerina in silk and pearls with piles of soft white hair. 4 of my cousins hover at the door, the girls around my age, the 2 little ones. I feel like a creature at the zoo being gawked at. I roll my notebook into a spyglass. "Kennedy," says Grandma to the oldest girl, "why don't you come say hello to your cousin? Where are your manners?" "Hi, Finley." Kennedy wraps me in a hug. She is tan and blonde and perfect. She looks like she has leaped right out of the ocean. She smells like vanilla. I'm so excited to finally meet you. She turns to the other kids. We all are. I am probably supposed to say something, but all I can think about are these 5 pairs of strange eyes staring at me. This house that smells different from mine and is far, far too big. Mom and Dad will be gone soon. They are going to leave me. My brain has yet to stop screaming. It bashes against the walls of my head in protest. I can't help it. I start to cry. Not loudly or anything. I am not one for fits. One minute I am not crying, and the next minute tears are sliding down my face, and I wish they weren't, but I can't stop them, and that makes me cry even harder. I don't want to be here. This place is all wrong. Grandma's mouth goes thin. She turns away from me. I'll go put on some tea. Dad says she's just overwhelmed. This is all new for her. Yes, says Grandma, I suppose it would be. Tea is the thing. We'll have tea and get her washed up. I hear my cousins. Is she all right? What's wrong? Why is she crying? Grandma, she's only tired. Come now, don't stare. I am sitting on my bed and Mom is holding me, telling me things. Please stop crying, sweetie. Please. The summer will be over before you know it, and then we'll be back to get you. You have to be brave. This will be fun. I promise. She pries my rolled-up notebook from my fingers. After a while, I appear to have cried myself out. My head is so heavy, I can't lift it from the pillows on this bed that is not mine. The room is empty except for me and Mom. She kisses my forehead and tells me I should come down soon. She and Dad can't stay long. The longer they stay, she tells me, the harder it will be for her to leave me. And this is the right thing to do, she says. She and Dad have decided it will be good for me to spend time with my family. I think she sounds like she has been crying too, but I don't want to know if that's true. Once she leaves the room, I lie flat and stare at the chandelier above my bed. This is a room for a princess, and I am anything but that. What am I? A lump of heaviness. A stranger. A thing that does not fit. I can't seem to stop the poison inside me from spreading. I mean, I've never been poisoned, so I am only speculating. But I do feel something spreading inside me. Something heavy and dark. I can't let them see it. They can't know my secret. Not these people in this clean, white palace. Not even Mom and Dad know. And they never will. Later, Dad comes in and hugs me. We'll talk every day, he tells me. I love you. He and Mom are leaving now. No, they cannot stay for dinner. Yes, they love me forever. A few minutes later, I hear voices drifting up from beneath my window and get up to look outside. My parents and grandparents are standing by the sidewalk that leads to the driveway. Dad tells Grandma, Finley likes her space. He speaks quietly, but I am good at listening. She's a dreamer. She loves to write. Just don't. Push her. Grandma's chin is square. I think I'm used to taking care of grandchildren by now, Louis. Dad hugs Grandpa, who claps him on the back. Grandpa says, it was good to see you. You look good. You look tall. Dad clears his throat. Yeah, you too. Dad and Grandma do not hug. She tells him to drive safely. Then Mom and Dad get into the car and drive away. I watch them until the trees swallow them up. I am alone. I wipe my face with tissues I find on my nightstand, unroll my notebook, and begin to write. The Everwood won't leave me. The Everwood is always right here in my notebook on these straight lines. The Everwood is one thing I can always understand. Chapter 3. At home, dinner is typically a haphazard affair. Mom camps out at the kitchen table, scarfs down her food in 5 minutes, and spends the rest of the night poring over some clients' renovation blueprints. Dad sits at his desk in the corner of the living room to work on lesson plans or write the novel he'll never finish because he gets distracted too easily. Every now and then he'll take a bite of food. Mom inhales, Dad pecks. I sit on the couch with my TV tray and my homework, usually with some kind of nature documentary on in the background. Dad says the narration soothes him and helps clear his mind. Some people might think it's odd that we hardly ever eat dinner together at the table. I like our way, though. It makes me feel grown up, like Mom and Dad don't have to pretend to care about typical dinner time rituals. We're all adults here. We eat how we want to eat. But dinner at Hart House is like a dance. Not only do I not know the steps, but I seem to have forgotten how to move my legs entirely. All 12 of us sit around the polished dining room table. The room is full of glass. There's a sparkling chandelier. Old-fashioned music plays from a long, skinny stereo on a side table. Even though the stereo looks new, the music crackles and pops. My aunts bring in dishes, serve drinks. I have a list of the hearts in my notebook. For a couple of days, I have studied their names and the photographs Dad gave to me. Grandpa sent them in an email. Obviously, it is beyond strange to not have photographs of one's own family. When I asked Dad about this, he rubbed his head and said, "Finn, it's complicated." Whatever that means. My aunts whisper to one another as they set out silverware. "I can't believe they didn't stay for dinner," says one of them. Her face is soft, and she keeps looking at me like she is terrified I might start crying again. Aunt Deirdre. D for short, Dad said. I'm not surprised. This is another of my aunts, thin and sharp all over. Her shiny blonde hair is pulled back into a tight bun. I am surprised they actually showed up. Aunt Bridget. I must never call her anything but Aunt Bridget. Certainly not Bridge. In real life, she looks even scarier than her photograph. Dad said Aunt Bridget kept her last name instead of taking Uncle Reed's, which I think is pretty wonderful. I wouldn't want to give up my last name, but I'm not going to tell Aunt Bridget that. I'm not sure I'll say anything at all to her. In fact, she reminds me of a beautiful bird you would want to pet if you weren't afraid it might peck out your eyes. Stop it, says my third aunt. Aunt Amelia. Long, tan legs and arms. Lots of teeth. She is a runner. Always has been. Everyone calls her Stick. Not in front of Finley. I inspect my napkin like it is the most interesting thing in the world. Girls, Grandpa says to my aunts, folding his napkin into his lap, don't cause trouble. Bridget Lynn, that means you. Aunt Bridget frowns, sits, takes a gulp of her drink. The ice cubes clink against the glass. Grandpa's chair is at the head of the table. He has a lot of hair, combed into stiff silver waves. When he catches me staring at him, he winks. He is not very good at it. Everyone is looking at me now, which makes me want to slither under the table and eat on the floor, but I think that is probably not allowed here. Focus, Finley. I must think of my list. Aunt Bridget is married to Uncle Reed, who isn't here. He's hardly ever around, Dad said, because Uncle Reed took over Grandpa's business, which is basically about buying and selling companies, and sounds to me like the most boring thing imaginable. One of Aunt Bridget's 8-year-old twin streaks. Dex, the boy. Ruth. Aunt Bridget snaps. Stop shaking pepper on your brother. But, Mom, he's been poisoned. This is the cure. He has to sneeze it out. Ruth's shouting makes me nervous. I wish my notebook weren't all the way up in my room. I wish I were home. I wish focus. Aunt Dee is married to Uncle Nelson, who drawls his words and looks like a cowboy without a horse. They have 2 kids, Kennedy, 12 years old. The girl who looks like she belongs on a beach somewhere. Avery, 17 years old. The girl I saw playing on her phone. The girl so pretty she doesn't look real. Then there's Aunt Amelia, Stick, and her daughter, Gretchen. Stick is 90% smile, 10% human. Gretchen has frizzy brown hair. Mom told me Gretchen is the same age as me. She said it in this cheerful way, like the fact that there is another 11-year-old in the house is supposed to make me feel better about my situation. Doubtful, Mom. And then there's me. Grandma, Grandpa, Aunt Bridget, Uncle Reed, away on business, Dex, and Ruth. Aunt Dee, Uncle Nelson, Avery, and Kennedy. Stick and Gretchen. And me, Finley. Aunt Dee sets a plate in front of me and smooths back my hair in a way that reminds me of Mom. I decide it probably isn't a great idea to start crying again, so I grab a fork and dive in before my body has the chance to betray me. Maybe if I stuff my mouth with enough food, it will prevent me from saying what I want to say. There has been an awful mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not one of you. Someone kicks me under the table. When I look up, everyone is staring at me, except for Grandma, who stands at the head of the table with her hands clasped at her waist. My lips are smeared with salad dressing. What did I do wrong? Who kicked me? I glance across the table. Gretchen shakes her head, her eyes wide. Grandpa clears his throat. Finley, here at Hart House nobody eats until Grandma sits down. She's the key, Dex explains cheerfully. You can't eat until she unlocks the meal. Ruth claps her hands over her mouth and giggles hysterically. Ruth, for God's sake, calm yourself, says Aunt Bridget. Right this minute. Stop laughing. Also, you're using the wrong fork. This is Avery, who looks like she's trying not to smile. You're supposed to use the salad fork. You know, to eat your salad. I look down at my table setting and see 6 utensils, 3 forks of different sizes, 2 spoons, and a knife. Okay. Stick replaces my fork with a clean one and nudges my shoulder with her elbow. Not to worry. How could you possibly be expected to know that? She smiles, but I'm not sure I believe her. It's not like Louis would teach her, says Aunt Bridget. He doesn't care about such things. He thinks everything we do is, what did he call us? Obsessed with the superficial. Aunt Dee touches Aunt Bridget's arm. Bridget, let's not do this right now. I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. Aunt Bridget snaps. Beside her, Avery smirks and looks down at her lap. I see a soft glow on her shirt and realize she's playing with her phone under the table. That's enough, Bridget, says Grandma, and then she sits down at the only empty chair. We do not talk about upsetting topics at the dinner table. Upsetting topics. Does she mean my dad? If he's an upsetting topic, what does that make me? Grandpa leads a prayer, another thing I'm not used to, another thing that makes me feel small and bulky at the same time. Everyone begins to eat, and I pretend to, but I have lost my appetite. People are talking to me, Gretchen and Stick, whose default setting appears to be talking. Kennedy, whose smile looks like it is straight out of a teeth-whitening commercial. But I am too afraid to say anything much. I am afraid that if I open my mouth, the wrongness inside me will come gushing out. The wrongness of using the incorrect fork. The wrongness of not knowing that Grandma is the key. Wrongness of the tight, jumbled knot that is my insides. And how heavy it feels. And how it is pulling and pushing and molding me like clay. I grab the crystal glass to the right of my plate and gulp down some water. When I set the glass back down, I see the prints my sweaty fingers have left behind. I feel a sense of deep, sudden friendship with that smudge. That is me. My aunts and uncles, my grandparents, my beautiful, beautiful cousins. I am a smudge on their glass. Chapter 4. I wake up sweating and pinned to my bed with terror. Once at home, I woke up like this and ran crying to my parents. I told them I felt like I was going to throw up, that I heard terrible thoughts screaming in my head and couldn't make them stop. They brought me a glass of water and sat with me until I fell asleep. Nothing was wrong with me, they said. I had had a nightmare. Sometimes bad dreams linger. I didn't believe them. I'd had nightmares before. This wasn't the same thing. I knew something must be wrong for me to feel like that. Something deep down where no one could see. Since then, I have never told my parents when I wake up sweating, feeling hot and sick and small. Instead, I write about the Everwood until nothing else matters. I never want to scare my parents again. I don't want them to look at me like I am broken in a way they don't know how to fix. We are already broken enough. It's the reason I'm here. Gray light seeps in through the long white curtains of my bedroom, and I finally remember that I am not at home. Everyone has spent the night at Hart House. The twins made a tent on the porch. My aunts and uncles and cousins all live nearby, but apparently they do this a lot. Sleep over like a bunch of kids at a party. Before I can talk myself out of it, I throw on some clothes and slip downstairs, out through the glassed-in sunroom attached to the kitchen. At first, the backyard looks pretty typical. Thick green lawn. Swing set with 2 swings. Bushes overflowing with pink flowers. Wind chimes tinkling on the patio. There is no fence around the yard. Hart House is virtually in the middle of nowhere. A path of pebbles leads to a slope in the ground. I creep closer and see stone steps set into the dirt, leading down into a pit of leaves and grass. It is almost as if someone carved a pond into the earth, sucked it dry of water, and filled it with trees. There are so many of them that the air feels heavy and alive, like it's full of people. But I am the only one here. Beyond the pit there is a small river, and beyond the river there are woods. There is no fence to block my view, nothing to separate my grandparents' property from the woods beyond. Wind blows past me, pricking me with goosebumps. The branches overhead knock against one another. The leaves whisper and shiver and sigh. Something inside me unclenches. I have read stories where the main character encounters a door, a window, a gate, and on the other side lies a magical land where anything is possible. If, that is, you dare to step through. That is what I feel like right now, ready to leave the world I know and enter another. The trees tower over me. I am small, but I am brave, and my heart is everywhere inside me. My fingers tingle. Now, I take a deep breath and begin down the stone steps into this pit that is another world. A rope swing hangs from an impossibly tall tree. I have never been so close to so many humongous trees. They must be decades old, maybe even centuries old, like the Everwood. I sit on the high river bank and let my feet swing out over the water. In my stories about the Everwood, I have imagined a vast and tangled forest, a dense web of dark trees. I have imagined it to be dangerous inside, a forbidding place where only the wild-hearted live. In my stories, I have never visited it. Others have, and I have collected their tales. But clearly they were wrong. I was wrong. This is the Everwood, this towering green place full of sunlight. And I belong here. I forget about wrong forks and heart house etiquette, and my bedroom is white as clouds. I smell dirt, decomposing logs, river water. Beneath these trees, I feel the same way I have always felt when opening my notebook to a clean page. As long as I am here, I am safe. Once there was an orphan girl. She had been wandering for months, lost in an unfamiliar country. Sometimes her loneliness felt so overwhelming she found it difficult to continue her search for family, for a home, but she always did. She wanted to see the world and discover its secrets. Curiosity burned inside her and kept her strong. One day a great forest came into view. The orphan girl's heart stirred to see it. I wouldn't go in there, warned an old traveling musician, playing his violin beside the path. Why not? Asked the orphan girl. Too many questions, he grumbled, and not enough answers. The orphan girl thanked him and continued south, down the forest road. The next day she bought an apple from a farmer. "You're not going to the Everwood, are you?" asked the farmer. "Of course I am," the orphan girl replied. The farmer shook her head. "Then you're a fool. People who go in there don't come out." This did not particularly trouble the orphan girl, for she had no one to leave behind. "I thank you for the warning," she said, and continued down the road. On the third day, the orphan girl came to the forest's edge. A witch sat high in the trees, knitting dreams. "Looking for something?" the witch asked, peering down from her perch. "Adventure," the orphan girl answered promptly. The witch's smile was full of holes. "Then you've come to the right place." The orphan girl felt a tiny fear. A thread of darkness hissed in the witch's voice. But a tiny fear was easy enough to push aside. The orphan girl was used to ignoring feelings that pained her. So she thanked the chuckling witch, clenched her fists, and pushed through the brambles into darkness. Chapter 5. What are you doing down here? I jump to my feet and whirl around. Gretchen stands a few steps behind me, staring. At least she isn't Grandma. Or Avery, who watched me at dinner last night like I was a puzzle for her to decipher. Avery's hair makes me nervous. Unless it's in a shampoo advertisement, hair should not be that shiny. Hello. Gretchen waves her hand in front of my face. Earth to Finley? Oh! Hi. Hi. What are you doing out here? Nothing. Is that a question? My face grows hot. No. I was just looking around. I woke up early. I was afraid of using the wrong fork at breakfast. Gretchen stands beside me on the riverbank. Don't worry about the forks thing. Avery says that's one of the Hart family pretensions. It's not something that matters in the real world. The real world, the world outside Hart House. She squints at me. Do you know what pretension means? A black and white grid flashes before my eyes, and I hear Dad's voice mumbling over the Sunday New York Times crossword. Thinking of his voice feels like someone has reached inside me and twisted. Pretension. 10-letter word for snobbery, a claim to importance. It can also mean false. It's like when you're snobby about something, I explain. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get that. Gretchen puts her hands on her hips and faces the woods. So you're just out here looking at everything? Yeah, I guess. My mouth feels like a machine that isn't quite working. It's pretty out here. Huh. I never really thought about it. Gretchen plops down onto the riverbank. I sit beside her, prepared to run if need be. She did kick me under the table last night, after all. I can't believe you came out here by yourself, Gretchen says. You never go out to the woods? Grandma's never forbidden it exactly, but she doesn't like us being out here where she can't really see us. Mostly when we come over, we help her clean the house. That doesn't sound very fun. It's not. But Grandma likes things to look nice. So it's like we all come over, and the aunts sit in the kitchen and drink, and Grandma puts us kids to work. She's all, you must learn to respect what you have, and people expect us to look a certain way. I giggle. She does a pretty good grandma voice. So what do you like about it? She asks. Our feet swing over the water. Gretchen wears red galoshes over her pajamas. The woods. Yeah. Well, it's complicated. Finley, we're hearts. We share blood, you know. You can tell me. What does that even mean? Being a heart. It has to be about something more than blood. Otherwise, Hart House wouldn't feel like it is the wrong size for me. Maybe I should start a new list. What it means to be a heart. If I can figure that out, maybe I'll be able to survive the summer. We share blood. Kind of creepy, really. I take a deep breath. I like it because it's the Everwood. Gretchen frowns. What's that? Like Narnia. It's a real place, I clarify, not imaginary and not in another world. It's in our world, but you can only find it if it wants you to find it. I've been writing about it forever, since I was 7. And you think this place is it? Maybe I say. It looks like it always has in my head, but even better. I had some of it right, but I also got a lot of things wrong. Now I see how it all really looks. Like what? Well, that's the green. I point up the hill of the pit, toward the bright green lawn. You know, for festivals and things. And that's the great castle. Now I point to Hart House. It sits right at the edge of the Everwood, guarding against trespassers. Is there a king and queen? I think for a second. No. The Everwood has never had a king or queen. It's really old, and it's been hidden away for a long time. Only one who is truly worthy can be ruler of the Everwood, and no one has ever been worthy enough. What makes a person worthy? Only the Everwood knows that. Gretchen nods, leans back on her elbows. So does anyone live at the castle? Of course. Someone has to, until the king or queen arrives. The two ancient guardians live there, all alone. That's sad. Not really. It's their solemn duty. So how old are they? Think of the oldest thing you can imagine, and that's them. Their duty is to watch over the Everwood and guard its secrets until the rightful ruler is found. These words spill out of my mouth as if they have always been there, waiting to become themselves. I have written dozens of Everwood stories, but now everything is different. Now I am actually here. Are they the only people who live in the Everwood? Asks Gretchen. Oh no, lots of other people live there. There are witches and barrows, these digging creatures with huge mouths like shovels. They live underground, and you have to be careful where you step, because they can reach up and grab you. And there are fire-breathing salamanders with poisonous drool, and fairies that will play tricks on you if they decide they don't like you. And sometimes there are knights, if one gets lost during a quest. Oh. Gretchen shoots upright, her hand in the air. Me. I want to be a knight. Can I? What? A knight. I'd be a great knight. Would I get a horse? Would I fight dragons? My thoughts spin out of control. What does Gretchen mean? Can she be a knight? The Everwood is not a game. It is not a thing you play at. It is a thing that already exists. You can't simply become a part of something that doesn't belong to you, something you've only just learned about. I find myself wishing Gretchen had never come out here. Then she would never have found out about the Everwood, and it would still be safely mine. Now that she knows, who else might soon know? And what will they think of me? The Everwood has only ever belonged to me. We understand each other. If I swear Gretchen to secrecy, will she agree? I wonder if hearts are good at keeping secrets. I am good at that, but then I don't feel like a real heart. Maybe blood doesn't matter at all. Please? Please? Gretchen clasps her hands under her chin and pouts. She looks so ridiculous that I burst out laughing. It feels strange and wonderful, like jumping out of deep water to breathe. I have not laughed for days. Okay, I say, you can be a knight. Gretchen pumps her fist into the air. But be warned, as a knight, it will be your duty to help the ancient guardians protect the Everwood from evil. What kind of evil? Invaders. Highwaymen. I look around and then whisper, pirates. Gretchen scoffs. Please. I could take on a whole ship of pirates with one hand tied behind my back. Without armor, even. Blindfolded. Not even the most valiant heart, good lady, can know every wonder the Everwood holds. both gentle and dangerous. What has come over me? I don't normally talk to people like this. The only time I use my Everwood voice is around Mom or Dad, and they're only halfway listening anyway. Gretchen jumps to her feet. Okay, so if I'm a knight, what does that make you? I pause, flushing. I'm an orphan. That is who I have always been in all my stories. Dad used to read to me before bed every night, and we read about a lot of orphans. They were often strange in some way. They had unusual powers or ugly scars, or carried terrible secrets inside them. But they always turned out to be heroes in the end. I like that idea of the strange, lonely character being the most powerful. Gretchen makes a face. Being an orphan doesn't sound fun at all. It isn't about fun. It's how the story goes. Okay, if you say so. It's your game. It's not a game. The words explode before I can stop them. Gretchen blinks at me, and I wonder if she will laugh at me and leave, or get mad, or think I'm a freak, or what? Do I care? Maybe it would be for the best. But Gretchen simply kneels. Forgive me, O fair orphan child. As a knight, I have awful manners and do not always think before I speak. Warmth rushes through me. Maybe I will start laughing again. Gretchen is not making fun of me or running away. She's staying. She's smiling. She has a decent English accent. What now? You're forgiven, I declare. After all, I am but a humble orphan child, and you are a great knight. Well, not yet, she says in her normal voice. I have to prove myself first. So should we go? Go where? She throws out her arm toward the woods on the other side of the river. Exploring. Questing. Not sure how we'll cross over, though. I search for a moment and then point down the river at a tree trunk, sized pipe that stretches across the water, its ends buried in the riverbanks. We'll cross over the first bridge. Well, technically, we're not allowed to go near that pipe. Grandma doesn't think it's safe. Gretchen trails off, watching me closely. I hesitate. Breaking Grandma Hart's rules on my second day here doesn't seem like a good idea. But the call of the Everwood is not something I can ignore, and now that Gretchen is beside me, waiting, I don't want her to leave. I think I want her to understand. I certainly don't want her to think I'm afraid of crossing a pipe. Maybe it is important for me to impress Gretchen. If I do, I will have passed some sort of test, and my cousins will accept me. If we explore fast and get back before breakfast, I say slowly, maybe no one will ever know. Gretchen grins. And a knight wouldn't care about breaking rules, would she? Not if it was for a noble cause. I'm in. Let's do it. Gretchen runs toward the pipe, her galoshes kicking up clumps of mud. For a moment, I imagine Grandma Hart peeking out a window, and I freeze with fear. But it's too late. I have a responsibility to accompany Gretchen. No one should enter the Everwood alone, especially not a knight who thinks she can fight pirates blindfolded. Orphan girl, Gretchen whisper shouts, ready to cross the bridge. Hurry up. I need a guide. A guide. Because no one knows the Everwood like I do. Because the Everwood wanted me to find it. I grin and run to catch up. One day the orphan girl was walking through the Everwood alone, when she came upon a lady knight polishing her armor. The orphan girl was careful around any stranger, for in strangers lay the possibility of pain. But the knight greeted her warmly and proposed that they travel together. And so they did, exploring an area of the Everwood that was new to them both. The tree stretched into a high world of green. Neither the orphan girl nor the knight could see the sky above. The farther they walked, the quieter the woods became. The world took on an eerie feeling, as if the air had been disturbed by something malicious and slow-moving. "Something terrible has happened here," whispered the orphan girl. "How can you be sure?" asked her friend. "Can't you feel it? The air is heavy with secrets." Then the orphan girl saw a shape in the shadows beneath a thin white tree. The shape gave off a quivering power, weak but once strong. "Be careful," said the knight. "I don't know this part of the forest. Perhaps we should turn around." But the orphan girl was too curious. She reached into the briars and pulled out a fine bridle laced with gold. It hummed with power, rattling her teeth and leaving her breathless. "Put it away," urged the knight. "There is something evil about this place." "I cannot," said the orphan girl. "I must find to whom it belongs." She tucked the bridle into her pack. Not long after this, they found another object, half buried in the dirt. "A boot," mused the orphan girl. "A fine one," added the knight. "The leather is like velvet. 'Tis a shame to misplace something so valuable," the orphan girl observed. "Misplaced, perhaps. Or stolen. Or worse." The orphan girl shivered at her friend's dark words. The boot's power was even stronger than the bridle's, making her bones ache as if with fever. "Do you think it has been expelled by a witch?" whispered the knight. "Enchanted by a fairy? It has certainly known pain," said the orphan girl soberly, "for when I touch it, I feel it too." She tucked the boot into a pouch on her pack. Deeper in the Everwood, where the light was as dim as evening, a wave of power washed over the orphan girl and her knight. They staggered, gasping. The orphan girl caught a glint of metal. "A dagger," she said, lifting the weapon from the tangled forest floor. "It is a fine blade," said the knight. "But what has happened to it?" "I feel ill to look at it. Something cruel," concluded the orphan girl. "Something that left much pain behind. Wait a moment. Look." The orphan girl raised her head and saw a strange light shifting through the Everwood leaves. Following it, she emerged into a gray field. Few trees stood here and no birds sang. In the middle of the field stood a small castle of crumbling stone. Wind whistled through the dry grass, and a torn flag hung from a crooked tower. "It is a wasteland," whispered the orphan girl, for she could think of no other way to describe it. Determined to explore, the orphan girl wrapped the dagger in cloth and tucked it into her pack with the boot and the bridle. No sooner had she done this than 3 figures tumbled out of the castle door. Their laughter was high and sharp, their voices vicious. They wore filthy rags tied around their heads, and their coats were black with mud. The lady knight unsheathed her sword. "Who are they?" asked the orphan girl. "Rotters," shouted the lady knight. "Come, my brave friend. We cannot let them catch us." "You would run from a fight?" asked the orphan girl. For answer, the knight raced back into the trees, away from the castle and its gray field, and the orphan girl had no choice but to follow. Chapter 6. I sprint after Gretchen, dodging trees and jumping logs. I do not want to leave the house we found without seeing what is inside it, but these boys are definitely chasing us, and they are fast. Wait, the who? I shout. Come on, Finley. But who are the Baileys? Even in galoshes, Gretchen is lightning fast. They're these kids from next door. She yells back at me. Well, across the river, I mean. As we run, my mind races. The Baileys. In the Everwood, they would not be neighbors across the river. They would be pirates. The Rotters, to be specific, an infamous trio of rogue pirates hailing from the bitter sea, who befoul and besmirch everything they touch, and who have come to the Everwood to plunder it of its riches. Thinking about the Everwood turns my chest light and my legs powerful. I dodge trees and jump over logs, passing Gretchen. A creeper vine whips past my face, and I almost drop the tiny shoe I found. Behind us, the Bailey boys holler at us. Trespassers. You'd better run faster. No hearts allowed. I look back and see one of the boys grinning at me. He darts through the trees and disappears, but I still hear him laughing. Back at the river, Gretchen and I scoot across the pipe bridge as fast as we can. Once we get to the other side, there is no sign of the Bailey boys. Where'd they go? I ask, panting. Gretchen points across the river, and I see it now. A house hidden in a mess of trees. It is as grand as Hart House, with a massive porch and too many windows to count, but this house is brown with dirt. The roof sags and the paint is peeling. Are you friends with them? Gretchen clutches her side. Are you kidding? No way. I stick my hand into my pocket. I wonder what Mom would think if she knew I was running away from boys through a forest with a wrapped knife in my jeans. The Bailey boys climb up the hill to their house. It's so steep on that side that they have to pull themselves up tree roots, like climbing the rungs of a ladder. One of them, the one who smiled at me, turns around at the top of the hill. He makes a gesture that would no doubt make my issue with the dinner fork seem like nothing to Grandma. Gretchen flings sticks across the river. They plop into the water. Stay out of our woods. I don't think there are woods, I point out, once I have gotten my breath back. Right? I don't think where we were is Grandma and Grandpa's land. Whatever. God. Gretchen's face is red and splotchy, but on her it is somehow appealing. How does she do that? What it means to be a heart. You look pretty even after sprinting across a forest. I am not sure how to talk to Gretchen right now. Are you mad? Yes, I'm mad. The Bailey boys are such trash. I can't believe they chased us. They know they're not supposed to come near any of us. Grandma says so. She told them so. Well, we were the ones messing around by there, whatever that was. That house. Nah, that's not the Baileys. It's just some house that's been abandoned forever. We're definitely not allowed to go there. I tried to stop you, but you wouldn't listen. Gretchen grins a little. I didn't think you'd be such a rebel. I have to write a story about this house and the pirates and everything. The words racing through my head aren't big enough to describe what has happened. Before today, I didn't know there was an abandoned old castle in a gray field, deep in the Everwood, but now it seems obvious it has always been there, hidden and waiting. For me, I have to sit down with my notebook and think. I have to write it just the right way, pick my words carefully. The Everwood deserves to be written about like it is important. My fingers itch for a pencil. But why aren't you allowed to go there? To that house? I don't know, because it's condemned or whatever. Ugh. Gretchen kicks dirt toward the Bailey house. Just look at that place. It's a disaster. Grandma calls them a blight on the town. Sometimes when I sleep over, I can hear them up in the middle of the night, yelling and blasting music. Like, what? They can't sleep like normal, civilized people. I wonder if Grandma has told Gretchen bad things about me and Mom and Dad, like she has about the Baileys. She has had a lot of time to do so. The Bailey boys disappear inside their house. A screen door slams. Have you ever talked to them? Gretchen stares at me. No. Why would I? I am not sure how to answer her. I don't want her to think I don't belong here, that I don't understand how things work at Hart House. You don't get it, Finley. These aren't normal boys. It's like I don't know. They're pirates, I say. Ferocious scoundrels come to pillage the Everwood. They're known as rotters, wicked, and completely without honor. Huh. If those are the pirates I have to fight, I can totally handle it. Gretchen finds yet another stick to throw. You hear me? I can take you. She runs after the stick, kicking up chunks of mud. As I watch her, I consider asking Gretchen what Grandma has said about me. Does Grandma think I am a blight on the family? Does she think I am a disaster? These questions make me feel like I am shrinking inside myself, but I will not disappear. Not now that I've found the Everwood. Gretchen is marching around, whacking branches with a stick, still grumbling about the Bailey boys. To distract myself, I take out our finds to examine them. A shoe. Child size 11. For the left foot. Black with mud and mildew. The fabric is a faded pink. A pocket knife that flips open when you press the side. Rusty blade. The hilt is marked with initials, but they're so faded I cannot read them. Then there's the bicycle, buried back in the woods, where Gretchen and I were exploring, blackened and twisted, its spokes warped. Something about these three objects, quite frankly, creeps me out. They do not seem to fit with the gleaming white world of Hart House. They belong to the dry field where we found them, to the crumbling old house, especially this child's shoe. When I hold it, the Everwood seems to shift around me, as if to say, here, this is important. I wonder if these objects are connected somehow, and if what I have always guessed about the Everwood is true. Such a large forest must be full of secrets. Now that I am here, I will find them. The trees in the Everwood were turning gray. Their leaves began to fall, dry and shrunken, although autumn was still months away. These trees smelled sour and sharp burned, though there were no flames. The orphan girl noticed the change one day not long after her first encounter with the rotters. She sensed a great pain lying hidden at the heart of the Everwood, a secret connected to the boot, the bridle, the blade. Whatever this secret was, it had begun seeping into the Everwood trees like disease. The Lady Knight plucked a withered leaf from a low-hanging branch. It crumbled into ash at her touch. What does this mean? The knight whispered. "What has happened here?" The orphan girl did not answer. She was staring at the bridle. The ash from the crumbled leaf had fallen onto the bridle, and now the cords of leather were beginning to twist and grow. The knight withdrew her sword. "Do not interfere," warned the orphan girl. "There is dark magic here. If we try to stop it, we might make it worse." Soon the bridle was no longer leather and gold, but scales and skin, an enormous brown snake with bright turquoise eyes. "What do you want?" demanded the orphan girl. The snake hissed. "I know a secret." "Tell us," yelled the knight, "or I'll cut off your head." The snake let out a wheezing laugh. Smoke curled up from its mouth. "I'd like to see you try." The orphan girl knelt to look the snake in its gleaming eyes. "What is the secret of the Everwood?" "Oh, it isn't my place to tell you that," said the snake coyly. "Then why do you taunt us?" cried the knight. "I said I know a secret. I didn't say I could share it." "Please, tell us what you know," said the orphan girl. "We must save the Everwood." "You can't," said the snake with a cold smile. "Not with what you carry." The orphan girl stepped back. "What do you mean?" "You know very well what I mean." The snake raised itself up until it was as tall as a man. "Here, I'll show you." Then, too quickly for the knight to even raise her sword, the snake lunged at the orphan girl. Holding her upright in its coils, it opened its jaws wide over her mouth. The orphan girl felt something deep inside her unraveling, sliding up her throat and out her mouth. She gagged. The snake set her down in the dirt and spat a coil of darkness into her palm. "There," the snake said. "I cannot remove all of it. It is lodged too deeply. I am not powerful enough. And besides, it is not my darkness to fight." The knight crept closer. "What is it?" The orphan girl stared at the slick, wriggling lump in her palm. When the orphan girl flung the thing away, it rolled through the mud, spitting smoke, until it, too, crumbled into ash and drifted away on the wind. Raising her sword high, the knight shouted a battle cry and ran after it. Once they were alone, the snake turned to the orphan girl. It was no longer smiling. "Whatever we carry within our hearts, the Everwood's power makes it real. And soon what you carry will destroy not only you, but everything you touch. The Everwood is not as strong as it once was. Your darkness will bring out its own. To save the forest, you must face this thing inside you." The orphan girl held back tears of shame. Her great secret, the one she had worked so hard to conceal, lodged in her heart. "But how?" "First you must give it a name," said the snake. "Naming a thing takes away some of its power and gives it to you instead." The orphan girl backed away and shook her head. "But I cannot." The snake narrowed its eyes. "And why not?" "Because I am afraid. If you want to save the Everwood and save yourself, you will have to find a way." The snake slithered off into the shadows. "I cannot just stop being afraid," the orphan girl shouted after it. Then she said quietly, "I have been afraid for so long." "Only fools try to run away from fear," called the snake. "What you must do is learn to walk alongside it." Then the snake was gone. In the silence, the orphan girl heard 3 distant keening howls. The darkness she carried inside her moved, restless, as though her secret were a beast and those howls were waking it up. The night returned. My friend, I fear we cannot do this on our own. The evil here is too monstrous for only 2 warriors to conquer. You are right, said the orphan girl, watching the path the snake had taken until her eyes burned. We must find more brave souls for our quest. We need to bring others to the Everwood. Chapter 7. I am expecting a call from home. Mom doesn't call that much. She has a secret phone phobia, so unless it's for work, she hardly ever uses it. But I talk to Dad almost every night at 8. It is now 8:05. I pace up and down the hallway and then walk circles through the rec room. I peer out the tall windows, trying to see through the trees to the Bailey property. One window of the Bailey house is lit up. The others are dark. A boy-sized shape walks along the river, then disappears up the hill. I walk back to my bedroom, staring at my phone. 8:10, 8:12. I wipe my palms on my pajama pants. The phone rings and the screen lights up, displaying Dad's picture. He is dressed up for Halloween, even though Mom says he is too old for that. His costumes are always literary characters. Last year, he was Miss Havisham from Great Expectations and carried around an actual spoiled cake. Louis, why are you dressing up as a woman? Mom asked. Dad looked at her as though she had asked him to wear his shoes on his hands. Because she's the best character in the book? Plus, my 8 o'clock class dared me. Dad Havisham is calling me. I answer. Hello? Finn, how's my girl? A whole week away from you, I'm going nuts. I'm fine, I guess. Grandma's listening to the blues. Here, wait a sec. I creep to the landing and peek downstairs, holding out my phone. The air is full of music. It makes me think about one of my favorite words, a 9-letter word for slow, heavy, rhythmic, ponderous. In the living room, Grandma and Grandpa dance in a slow circle. Grandpa presses his cheek against Grandma's hair. He says something soft, and Grandma laughs. Something inside my chest gives way. I cannot remember the last time Mom and Dad danced, or touched, or laughed, unless it had something to do with me. The hand holding my phone is sweating. I go back to my room. At the end of the hallway, the door to Avery's room stands open. Everyone else went home days ago, but she is still here, and I can't figure out why. I assume it's because she loves our grandparents, but I haven't heard her say so. There she is, sitting back in her pillows, playing with her phone. She glances up, and I freeze. Her eyes cut into my skin, like my secret is this thing inside me, knotted up and quivering, and Avery knows right where it is. I duck back inside my bedroom. Got to love Ray Charles, Dad is saying in my ear. Your grandma has good taste. You never listen to Ray Charles. I used to. You go through phases, you know? Yeah. So how are you? Excellent. Excellent. The first section of summer school. Every day is packed full. Lots of grading. But the kids this time around are great. As Dad talks, I turn to the favorite words list near the front of my notebook and find ponderous. I enjoy how its letters look all together. This list has become so long that, to keep it to one page, I have begun writing words wherever I can find space, even in the margins. Rivulet, wanderlust, flagrant, Yuga, 346 words so far. I run my finger down the list, feeling the pen marks. How's Mom? Oh, she's engrossed in the Robertson renovation. You remember that house on the lake? She's got swatches spread out all over the kitchen table. She's in heaven. There's that tiny pinch in his voice, the one that means Mom has been working too much. Again. Dad? Yeah, sweetie. Mom's really busy, huh? Dad sighs. We both are. Sometimes I think. My heart pounds into the silence. What? Nothing. You know me. I ramble. House. I can't say it. It catches on my tongue like a swear word. How's everything going? You know, with the stuff you and Mom are figuring out. Dad is quiet for too many seconds. Well, Finn, we've been talking about a lot of things. Like what kind of things? About me, and about your mom, and about our life together. School, her design firm. Whether we're as happy as we should be. He pauses. It's pretty boring, actually. You're not missing a lot, but we miss you. We miss you like crazy. He's so cheerful, not saying much that is real, not really answering my question. I try to imagine him and Mom sitting around at home by themselves, talking and laughing without me, and I can't do it. All I can picture is Mom working at the table and Dad working at his desk, and my empty spot on the couch and silence. All I can think is that, without me there, they don't have to pretend everything is okay. They don't have to pretend smile and say pretend have a good day and pretend I love you. Pretend words sound so different from real ones. Like you've got something stuck in your throat that won't come out, and you're trying to act like it isn't there. I feel sick to my stomach all of a sudden. Grandma made pot roast tonight. And asparagus. Asparagus? Spindly green things, right? Dad hates vegetables. Mom says he had better be careful about that. He's not 18 anymore. Ha ha. Very funny. When you get home, I'm going to make you such a welcome home dinner. It'll put your grandma's cooking to shame. Dad, be serious. I am, Finn. I am. Dad gets quiet again, and I sit there waiting for him to speak, and wanting to ask to talk to Mom, and wanting to hang up on him, and twisting my shoelace around my finger until it is so tight my skin turns red. I miss him. I'm angry they have left me here, but I would stay here for 10 summers if it meant, at the end of them, I could come home and everything would be the same as it used to be. Then I remember something that has been on my mind. Dad, I have a question. Yeah? Shoot. You know the Bailey family? They live across the river from Grandma and Grandpa. I wait. Have I lost the call? Dad? Yeah? Yeah? I'm here. Sure, the Baileys. They're still there, huh? What about them? Yeah, Gretchen and I were outside, and they just started chasing us. The Baileys, I mean. We chased them, but we couldn't catch them. Gretchen said Grandma told them they're supposed to stay away from us, and we're supposed to stay away from them. She said Grandma said they're a blight on the town. But I don't get why. Gretchen acted like she really hated them, and I thought it was weird to hate someone for their house being messy. Don't you think it's weird? Unless they did something bad or wrong or something. I pause. I didn't mean to say so much, but it feels better now that I have. I miss having Mom and Dad around to talk to. Dad? He draws in a long, slow breath and then says, Finley. Yeah? I don't want you talking with the Baileys either. And I mean it. The seriousness of his voice frightens me. But why? Because Dad sighs sharply. Look, Finley, when we were teenagers, the Baileys, their dad, he wasn't a good kid. He did bad things. He's not safe to be around. And if he has kids now, I'd bet they're not much different. I wouldn't trust them for anything. And your grandparents don't like talking about this, so I wouldn't bring it up. Okay, but I don't get it, Finley. I'm serious. Do this for me, okay? Please? None of this makes sense. My head buzzes with questions. Yeah, okay. I won't say anything. You promise me, Finn? I promise. Okay, good. Dad's voice relaxes. I'm going to let you go now, all right? You should go downstairs. Spend time with your grandparents. Or with Avery. Avery's scary, Dad. I know you think so, but I'm sure she's not once you get to know her. You don't know her. You don't know any of them, and neither do I. They're like strangers, and you left me here with them like it was no big deal. There is an awful silence. I wish I could take it all back. Dad says, Finley, it was a big deal. Don't think it wasn't. It was hard for us to leave you, okay? Then why did you? I get up, start pacing. Maybe I'm glad I said something. Maybe I don't want to take it back after all. We've talked about this. Because your mom and I need space to work things out. I know. Finley. I wait for him to say something that will make this better. What? He sighs. You know, I talk to your grandpa a lot, actually. On the phone. I don't say anything. He's been asking me to come by for years, to bring you to visit. When I mentioned that your mom and I needed some time together, he was the one who suggested I bring you down for the summer. He's been saying that for a while now, and he was right. As much as I hate to admit it when he's right. How come you never let me talk to him? My eyes are hot. Avery walks by on her way to the bathroom. She's typing on her phone, but she glances over anyway. I run over and shut the door. I don't have a good answer for you, Finley, Dad says. I should have let you talk to him. I should have done a lot of things. I've been selfish and stubborn. But I'm trying now, okay? We're all trying. You're getting older, and I don't want you growing up and leaving for college and heading out into the world without knowing your cousins. Dad, college is 1,000,000 years away. Time's a slippery little jerk, Finn. Dad sounds tired. Things happen more quickly than you think. One minute you're a kid, and the next minute you're grown up and wondering what the heck happened when you weren't looking. You're being so dramatic. Seriously, Finn. I stare at the closed door, breathing in and out. Okay, are you going to be all right? I'm fine. Silence. He doesn't believe me. I don't care. Your mom's going to try to call you tomorrow, all right? She's busy prepping for a big meeting with the Robertsons. That's okay. She can call me whenever. Tell her it's okay. It's not okay. I don't care about the Bailey boys and whatever it is their stupid dad did. I don't care about the Everwood or the shoe and the knife tucked under my bed. I throw my notebook against my pillows. I consider asking Dad not to hang up, but that would mean I'd have to keep talking to him. Okay, sweetie. Dad blows me a kiss through the phone. I can almost feel it hit my cheek. I love you. I love you so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay. Go talk to your grandma. Ask her about her favorite Ray Charles song. She'll talk your ear off. We used to listen to him all the time when we were kids. When they were kids. And then what happened? Okay. I feel like my voice is not my own. I have too many questions and I can't figure out how to ask any of them. After Dad hangs up, I climb into bed and try to read one of my old Everwood stories, one I wrote before coming to Hart House. But it seems all wrong now that I've seen the real Everwood. It seems like I didn't know what I was doing, like I was just a silly kid playing make-believe. Before long, these thoughts are so loud they start to feel true. I am just a silly kid playing make-believe. I don't know what I am doing. I am all wrong. When Grandma comes up to say it's time for bed, I pretend I am already asleep. I am too close to blurting out my secret to her, how I didn't get up to brush my teeth or wash my face, not because I am lazy, but because I couldn't. It was physically impossible. My body was too heavy to move. How I am sinking into cold, blue water, a blue nothing like the warm music filling the house downstairs. How I am finding it difficult to breathe. How my skin is crawling with something like fear. I cannot say these things to anyone, especially not to Grandma. So I lie there with my eyes closed while Grandma turns off the light. It is easier this way. Chapter 8. On the morning of my second Friday at Hart House, everyone returns for the weekend. Grandma immediately puts us to work cleaning. How else will you learn to respect what you have? Grandma points out when Dex and Ruth start whining. Gretchen shoots me a look around Grandma's back. See? Or we can let everything sit and rot and turn into some overgrown pigsty, Grandma adds. She doesn't say anything about the Bailey house directly, but I'm sure that's what she means. I glance out the kitchen window through the woods and find the Bailey's vine swamp porch. Grandma catches me looking. Our eyes lock. What do we have to do this time? Ruth moans, draping herself theatrically over the back of a chair. Ruth, you and Kennedy have the downstairs bathrooms. Gretchen and Dex will take the upstairs bathrooms. Avery's dusting. And Finley? I swallow hard. Yes, you'll help me in the kitchen. As I reluctantly follow Grandma down the hall, Gretchen grabs my arm and whispers, I told everyone we'd meet tonight. Outside, in the pit, after the adults have gone to sleep. Even Avery? Please not Avery. Are you kidding? She'd tell on us, and she wouldn't want to come anyway. Be there, okay? No chickening out. Chicken out? I was the one who got you to cross the river in the first place, you know. I'm just saying, the Everwood is a whole other world after dark. Gretchen grins and waggles her fingers at me. Finley? Grandma calls out. Her heels click on the kitchen floor. Quickly, we have a lot to do. B. There. Gretchen pokes my shoulder twice and hurries off to find Dex. In the kitchen, Grandma is taking plates, pots, and pans out of the cabinets. Stick just got back from one of her runs and is making a protein shake. When she sees me, she attacks me with a hug. She does not look much like her daughter. Stick is long and golden, like Avery. Gretchen must have gotten her frizzy dark hair from her father. Dad told me Gretchen's father died when Gretchen was very young. Stick kept his name and never remarried. If anyone around here should feel sad and heavy and unable to get up and brush her teeth before bed, it should be Gretchen or Stick. Not me. So get it together, Finley. Here, Finley. Grandma hands me an old cloth. Start wiping down those bottom cabinets, please. I'd like to get this done quickly so I can be at the clinic by 1 o'clock. Clinic? Grandma waves a hand. Just something I do when I have the time. Your grandma's being modest. Stick loops her arm through Grandma's. She volunteers at the clinic, works the front desk. Whenever they need her, she drops everything and goes. And she organizes this back-to-school program at the Y, where they stuff backpacks full of school supplies for kids who need them. You know, so their parents don't have to worry about spending money on notebooks and pens and such. Your Grandma Finn. Stick beams at me. She's the best, in case you didn't know. Stick plants a sweaty kiss on Grandma's cheek and Grandma's nose wrinkles. I try not to laugh. It keeps me from getting bored around here in this old house, is all. Grandma says crisply. Now get to cleaning, you too. Stick flips on the radio. Gretchen has been talking about you nonstop all week. Finley, she tells me while she sweeps. She stops to gulp down some of her shake. She couldn't wait to come back, and for once it had nothing to do with Grandma's cooking. I wait for Grandma to laugh, but she's elbow deep in a soapy sink, scrubbing hard at a pan that looks perfectly clean to me. I'm just so excited you two have hit it off, Stick continues. It's been a long time since I've seen Gretchen so excited about playing outside. Trees? And mud? Come on. Usually it's nothing but video games and texting her friends. I should never have gotten her a phone so young. But all her friends had them, so if I didn't get her one, she'd be constantly whining about it. Here, Stick holds out her shake. Wanna try? Stick looks so hopeful that I take a sip. It tastes like a combination of gritty cake and liquid metal. I fight not to make a face. Stick bursts out laughing. Not for you, huh? Baby kicks? She kisses my forehead and ruffles my hair. Don't worry, I still like you. I smile up at Stick. Her short hair pokes up behind her headband. You do. Of course. You're my coolest niece by far. Even cooler than Avery? Stick winks at me. Don't tell her I said that. You were playing outside? Grandma has stopped scrubbing to look at me. It takes me a minute to remember what we were talking about, the Everwood. Playing outside with Gretchen. I wait for Stick to say something, but suddenly she seems to be very interested in sweeping. Yeah? Yes, Grandma says. I mean, yes. It's no big deal. We were just messing around. Doing what, exactly? And where? Stick stops sweeping. Mom, come on. They're just having fun. Amelia, I asked Finley, not you. We talked. Hung out in the pit. My mind ping-pongs around, searching for a reason why Grandma would be acting this way. Playing outside seems like a normal thing to do, but I get the sense that isn't true at Hart House. Then it hits me. Maybe Grandma knows about what Gretchen and I found. The child's shoe, the twisted bicycle, the knife. Maybe she knows about something that happened in the Everwood. I don't want you girls playing around back there, Grandma says. Not even in the pit? Her lips purse. If you must. But not beyond that, Finley. It isn't safe. My shoulders tense. She dares to forbid me to enter my Everwood? What do you mean? It's fine out there. It's just woods. I know you aren't used to how things work around here, Finley, but in this house, when I give you instructions, I expect them to be obeyed. Is that clear? Her words are quiet, clear, polished. They slice right through me. I could cry. I could scream. It isn't fair being here. It isn't fair having to pretend to fit in and understand these rules that make no sense. Avery comes down the back stairs into the kitchen, one earbud in, her arms full of sketch pads. She wears what I have come to know as her painter's uniform, a ratty oversized t-shirt and orange shorts splattered with color. Grandpa told me to tell you he's leaving, she says to Grandma. Thank you, Avery. Finley, I asked you a question. Is that clear? Stick is staring out a window, holding her shake tightly in one hand, her back to us. Avery watches, paused by the door to the garage. Grandma's smile is polite, but her eyes are sharp. I know you aren't used to how things work around here, Finley. Grandma knows the truth. I am not one of them. Yes, Grandma, I say quietly. I understand. Grandma's face relaxes. Good. I'm glad we're clear. I'll be back shortly. I need to ask your grandfather something before he leaves. Then she tugs off her soapy gloves, brushes a paper-dry kiss on my cheek, and leaves us. Her earrings glitter in the sunlight. Without another word, Avery slips into the garage. Stick resumes sweeping. Your grandfather and his drives, she says cheerfully, rolling her eyes. Ever since he retired and Uncle Reed took over the company, it's become his quiet time. He's always liked long drives. It's his way of meditating. But don't ever tell him I said that. He'd disown me if he knew. He thinks meditation is a bunch of New Age hokum. I stare at the refrigerator, at the pictures of my cousins stuck on with magnets. All my cousins, all the aunts. Not me. And not Dad. He'd disown me if he knew. I swallow hard. You mean like how they disowned my dad? The kitchen goes still. Stick crouches in front of me, taking my hands. Her smile is gone. She looks older without it. I can see the tiny lines around her eyes. Finley, listen to me, sweetie. I'm sorry I said that. It was thoughtless of me. I never wanted Louis to stay away. None of us wanted that. I look Stick in the eye, and I try to imagine myself as beautiful and untouchable as my grandmother. Grandma did, I say, and return to my work. Stick doesn't correct me. I polish the cabinets until every inch of them shines. Chapter 9. That night, after the adults have gone to sleep, we all sneak out of the house and down into the pit. The trees shiver around us, silver with moonlight. The air is soft and warm on my skin. We sit in a circle, and I dig my fingers into the dirt. For pairs of eyes lock onto me. Kennedy, her hair in a messy bun on top of her head. Dex and Ruth, wide-eyed, sitting on either side of her. Gretchen. Hello, I think to the Everwood. I am here. I think protect us, hide us, because if Grandma wakes up and finds us, I'm not sure what she will do. And then I think to the trees. I hope you will like my cousins, because I'm not sure if they will. Or if I will like having my cousins here in my trees by my river. It's silly to think of this place as mine after only a week. I haven't had the time to properly explore yet since that first day with Gretchen. But they say people can fall in love in a day or even in a moment. I wonder if Mom and Dad fell in love in a day, or if it took much longer, and if it makes a difference. If the way you fall in love determines how long you will stay in love, or if you will stay in love at all. I clear my throat. What we're here to discuss tonight is the Everwood and the artifacts Gretchen and I found and the pirates. And their secret house, Gretchen adds. Kennedy looks skeptical. What pirates? The Bailey boys. It's part of the game. I bite my tongue at Gretchen's continued use of the word game, too nervous to reprimand her. Kennedy is 12. She must be hiding how ridiculous she finds this situation. She can't honestly care. Gretchen nudges me. Ahem. A long time ago, I say, not looking at Kennedy, I started writing about the Everwood. It's not another world. It's in our world, but you can only find it if it wants you to find it. With Gretchen's help, I tell them about the Bailey boys and how they chased us away from the old house back in the woods. Then I take out the shoe and knife from my backpack. Everyone stares at the knife. Kennedy frowns at me. You didn't, touch the blade or anything, did you? You were careful? If you cut yourself, you'll need a tetanus shot. Grandma told me that once. Of course we didn't touch it, says Gretchen. What kind of knight do you think I am? I'm sorry, a what? Gretchen throws her arm around me. I'm a knight, and Finley is the poor orphan child. Everyone needs a part to play. But it's not a game, I say, avoiding Kennedy's eyes or a play. I wish we were back inside. Kennedy is quiet. Then she says, okay, cool. What are our choices? I look up. Really? Kennedy smiles at me. If she thinks this is childish, if she is playing along for the sake of the twins, I can't tell. I smile back at her. I want to be a witch. Ruth cackles, her fingers curled. Kennedy covers Ruth's mouth. You weirdo. Stop screaming. Grandma'll flip if she finds us out here. You can't be a witch, I explain, because witches in the Everwood are villainous. Do you want to be a villain? Ruth appears to be thinking hard about that. Well, you can't be, I say quickly. We already have the pirates to deal with. Don't you want to be a hero like Gretchen? Gretchen jumps to her feet and flexes her skinny biceps. Ruth and Dex start laughing. But then the sounds of a slamming door and a crash come from the direction of the Bailey house. Everyone falls silent. We should go inside, Kennedy says, standing up. We're so not supposed to be out here. I shouldn't have let this happen. Oh, don't go all grandma on us, Gretchen hisses. It's no big deal. Come on, I whisper. We have to see what's going on. Kennedy frowns but says nothing. We crawl up the far side of the pit and peek out over the top. From here we can see the Bailey house clearly, and the boy sitting on the opposite ledge of the high riverbank. He is swinging his legs through the air, picking at the ground, throwing rocks into the water. I think it is the medium-sized boy, the one who laughed at me while he chased us. He doesn't look so wild and dangerous now. Something's going on over there, Gretchen whispers. I just know it. What was that crash? Kennedy says it sounded like glass breaking. Maybe we should wake up Grandma and get grounded until the end of time? No thanks. Why is he outside by himself? Dex asks, squishing lumps of dirt with his thumb. I don't know, I say, but something is going on over there. My dad said something happened when he was a kid. Or he kind of hinted at it anyway. He said the Baileys aren't good people, that their dad did bad things. But we can't talk about it with Grandma and Grandpa. Okay, what kind of bad things? Kennedy asks. I don't know, but I want to find out what. Why do you care about whatever the Baileys did? Kennedy crosses her arms. You don't even know them. None of us do. I mean, we've seen them at school, but we don't actually talk to them. So, what is it? What's the big deal? I don't know how to explain it to her in a way that would make sense, that there's a story in these woods waiting for me to write it. That when I write about the Everwood, I don't have to think about anything else. Not Mom, not Dad, not me, spending the summer away from them. Gretchen pipes up. Look, the important thing is that there's this really old, beat-up house back in the woods, and we found all this creepy stuff around it. And you can't find an old, beat-up house in the woods surrounded by creepy stuff and not go investigate. I mean, come on, Kennedy. Gretchen drops to her knees and tugs on Kennedy's tank top. You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me with your goody-goody ways. I'm begging, yeah. Don't ruin my fun. Kennedy is trying not to smile. Get off me. You're stretching out my shirt. I clear my throat. As a poor orphan child, with nothing to my name, I beseech you to join me and the Lady Gretchen, Knight of the Everwood, in our quest to explore the Everwood and discover its secrets, especially the beat-up old house, Gretchen adds. Right, especially the house. Kennedy sighs, which is probably condemned. Kennedy, Gretchen whines, don't be a butt. Kennedy's a butt, Ruth sings. Kennedy's a butt. Great, Kennedy mutters. We won't do anything too dangerous, I say. I promise, Kennedy. Kennedy sighs. Otherwise everyone will hate me, I guess? Yep, Gretchen says. Forever and ever. Amen. Ugh. Kennedy crosses her arms over her chest and stares up at the trees. Gretchen pats her shoulder. It sucks being the goody-goody, doesn't it? I'm not a goody-goody. R2, Gretchen whispers. Dex bursts out laughing. Kennedy shrugs off Gretchen. Even in the dark I can tell that she's blushing. Fine, I'll do it. But the second things get dangerous, sure. Whatever. Let's do this. Gretchen picks up a long, skinny stick and looks at me, waiting. I hesitate, but there's no going back now. Kennedy Howard, I say, you will be our champion. You will serve as general if we should enter into battle, and act as Speaker of the Everwood when we forge alliances with foreign parties. Do you accept this title and the duties and responsibilities it entails? For a minute, it looks like Kennedy is going to change her mind. My heart freezes in my chest. Then she takes a deep breath and says, I do. She kneels, and Gretchen taps her shoulders with the stick. The twins watch, their mouths hanging open. My opinion of Kennedy skyrockets. And you, Dexter and Ruth Prescott, I say, turning to the twins. You will be squires to the Lady Gretchen until such time as either age or experience proves you worthy of knighthood. Ruth makes a face. What's a squire? Basically, it means you have to do whatever I tell you to do, Gretchen explains. That sounds dumb. Not as dumb as not getting to play at all. You'll still get swords, I say. And horses. Dex's hand shoots up. Can I have a unicorn instead of a horse? There are no unicorns in the Everwood, but you can have a white horse. Ruth tugs on Kennedy's arm. Do we really have to do everything Gretchen says? Absolutely, Gretchen says. Kennedy gives Gretchen a look. Within reason. So, I say, do you accept? Dex and Ruth exchange a glance, then kneel in the dirt to be initiated. Now what? Asks Kennedy. What's next? We must take a solemn oath. I dig in Gretchen's bag for the oversized shoebox she brought from home. Did you bring your dues? Everyone hands me their personal items. A black, ferocious-looking model unicorn from Dex, and from Ruth a collar she is saving for the kitten she wants for her birthday. Gretchen brought a scruffy plush dolphin named Echo. Before handing him over, she kisses him on the nose. Kennedy holds on to her MVP soccer medal. We're keeping these somewhere safe, right? Absolutely, says Gretchen. On my honor as a knight, I won't let anything happen to these, our most powerful treasures. Ruth giggles. Why are you talking so funny? Because that's how knights talk, stupid. Kennedy says, Gretchen, come on, don't call her stupid. Kennedy, you have to, whispers Dex, bouncing on his toes. Otherwise, you can't come to the Everwood. Kennedy regally adds her medal to the pile. Such an important gesture must be given due consideration. Duh, Ruth hisses. Dex sticks his tongue out at her. As for me, I tear out my favorite words list from my notebook and fold it into a tiny square. That's it, says Gretchen. You're giving up a piece of paper? You don't understand. There are 346 words on this list. If I lose it, I'll lose years of work. Gretchen doesn't look convinced, but I nevertheless put our items into the shoe box and tape it shut. Everyone places their hands on the lid. Repeat after me, I say. Upon the valuables in this box, I swear to never reveal the secrets of the Everwood quest to anyone not present tonight. And if I break this promise, I give up all rights to my property contained herein. Everyone repeats the oath and crosses their hearts. Now 3 more people know about the Everwood. It is no longer only mine. I am not sure how I feel about that. It seemed like a good idea, and yet now I am not so sure. I follow my cousins up the stone steps. We are going slowly because Dex keeps slipping in the dark. Too slowly. I would like to get back inside now, please, so I can have some time alone to think. I need some time. I need to be alone. Now, before Grandma finds us. Before anyone sees me. Before the others change their minds and start laughing at me for playing my stupid Everwood game. Now. But it is too late. It is already happening. It slides over me like I have walked through an icy veil. Fear. Chapter 10. It starts deep in my stomach and crashing out to my fingers and toes. I know this feeling well by now. It means I am close to losing myself. When my body becomes hot and cold at the same time and itchy all over. When my stomach goes queasy and I find it hard to breathe, and all I know is that I am afraid for no particular reason. When I wake up wanting to call out for mom and dad, but I don't. My breath starts to come faster, thinner. I do not understand. I should be happy right now, shouldn't I? With a champion, a knight, and 2 squires at my side? A normal person would be happy right now, I think. Why is this happening to me? I never know the answer to that question. Is it because my favorite words list is all taped up in a box? That flash of white at one of Hart House's upstairs windows, is it Grandma spying on us? What will she do to us? What will she do to me? I cross my arms over my chest and stare at the ground. Maybe if I think hard enough, this feeling will go away. I cannot lose myself, not right now, not in front of everyone. From what I can tell, no one else I have encountered has ever lost himself or herself. If they have, they certainly have not talked about it. My cousins do not seem like the kind of people who lose themselves. Go away, go away, go away. As we climb up the pit, all I can concentrate on is my sweaty hands, my prickly skin, the rhythm of my breathing. Kennedy might be watching. If she thinks something is wrong with me, she'll wake up Grandma, and everything will be ruined. So I will walk and keep my fear locked up inside me. Breathe in and out, Finley. In and out. Just hold on. Don't let them see. By the time we get back inside and upstairs, I am feeling a little better, but only a little. I sit against the wall, Dex and Ruth on either side of me. It is my responsibility to make sure they stay quiet while Gretchen hides our stash in Avery's room underneath her bed. It seems like the safest place. Who would want to sneak into Avery's room to steal back their dues and risk awakening what is sure to be a mighty teenage wrath? Kennedy, standing watch at the end of the hallway, whispers, "Hurry up, you guys." She bounces on her toes. Gretchen crouches at Avery's bedroom door, our stash under one arm. "Shut up, Kennedy. Do you want me to do this or not?" As soon as Gretchen slips inside Avery's bedroom, Dex and Ruth start giggling. The edges of my body still feel sharp, unsteady. The fear is not far from me. Even breathing the wrong way could send it flying back. Then I have an idea. "Do you hear that?" I whisper. It is difficult to speak. "Hear what?" asks Ruth. "I don't hear anything." "The Everwood. It's speaking to us." Ruth frowns. "Really?" Dex scoots closer to me. "What's it saying?" "It's saying..." I close my eyes. In and out. Just breathe. Think of the Everwood. Think of the oak trees, the ash trees, the gold and green light. It's saying it was impressed by the bravery of the 2 young squires who dared enter the forest so late at night. It senses you have courageous hearts, that you will one day be glorious knights. I open my eyes and look at each of them. But if this quest fails tonight, you can never be knighted. The Everwood has strict rules, you see. Ruth immediately clamps her hand over Dex's mouth. I pry it loose and pull them close. Hush, squires. The Everwood is listening. They sit as still as statues beside me. From down the hallway, Kennedy gives me a thumbs up. Then a light switches on in Avery's bedroom. Gretchen? What are you doing? Gretchen bolts out of Avery's room, and we tear down the hallway, sliding across the hardwood floor in our socks, trying not to laugh. Kennedy grabs the twins and pulls them inside their room. From behind us, I hear movement. Avery stands at her door. Her hair is a mess, like mine in the mornings. It makes her less scary somehow. Freaks, she whispers and shuts the door behind her. The next morning at breakfast, Avery ignores us all, like usual. If she knows Gretchen put the stash under her bed, she doesn't say anything. We pass giggles around the table like a secret code. Auntie puts down her toast, smiling at us. Okay, what's the story? What happened? What did we miss? But no one says anything. We are bound to secrecy now, the 5 of us. Gretchen starts laughing through a mouthful of scrambled eggs. Aunt Bridget has to clap her on the back. A chunk of yellow goes flying and hits Uncle Nelson's forehead, and the twins start shrieking. Grandpa glances up from his newspaper, his mouth twitching. If you let me in on the secret, I'll take you to the swimming pool this afternoon. Dex's eyes light up. Really? Ruth grabs his arm. We'll think about it, she says primly, then glances at me and winks. She is better at it than Grandpa. Grandpa returns to his reading, but his eyes twinkle at me over the top of the newspaper. The kitchen is bright and smells like coffee, and at this moment I cannot remember what it is to feel afraid. The orphan girl awoke in the middle of the night to the feeling that she was being watched. She looked about the camp she shared with her sleeping companions. A circle of trees surrounded them, their trunks twisted together in mighty knots. Ash fell from their withered leaves like snow. "Hello," the orphan girl whispered into the darkness. "Hello," said a small, clear voice. The orphan girl reached for her pack and saw that it had been opened. Nothing was missing, except for the soft leather boot. The orphan girl followed the voice. "Who are you? Show yourself." 2 amber eyes appeared in the gloom. "You know who I am." As the voice spoke, cold waves of power glided across the orphan girl's skin. "The boot," she whispered. The voice laughed, and a red fox padded into the moonlight. "I didn't think you'd recognize me," said the fox. "I met your friend," said the orphan girl, the snake. The fox's yellow eyes narrowed. "The snake and I are not friends. Not everyone in these woods is friendly, child. Do not make the mistake of assuming so." I thought, yes, you thought, and you thought. What good did thinking ever do anyone? The orphan girl considered this a silly question. Well, a whole lot of good to a great many people, in fact. The fox grinned. "You speak your mind." "I like that. My friends and I are looking for the secret of the Everwood," the orphan girl explained. The fox's grin unnerved her. Why the trees are dying, what those howls are at night. "You know the answers to these questions," the fox said, curling its tail about its paws. "I don't." "You do, and don't lie to me." "The snake told you, I know. Snakes talk too much. The Everwood makes whatever is inside us come to life," admitted the orphan girl. "That's what the snake said." "And," prompted the fox, "and my darkness will bring out the Everwood's darkness." "The forest is not as strong as it once was," said the fox. The orphan girl wanted to look away, but did not. Yes, and what is inside you, child? The fox's expression turned serious. What have you brought into these woods? Fear, perhaps? The orphan girl stiffened. I am not afraid of forests. No, you are afraid of yourself. A chorus of howls cut through the night, closer than they had ever been. Like is drawn to like, the fox murmured. Darkness finds darkness. You speak in riddles, accused the orphan girl. I speak in truths. The fox slunk about the orphan girl's ankles. Have you heard of the dark ones? The orphan girl shivered. They only come out at night, but they don't truly love the night. What feeds them is a different kind of darkness. The orphan girl did not want to say it, but the black woods trembled around her, and she ached for them. Were the trees in pain? Was it because of her? The darkness I carry inside me, whispered the orphan girl. We all carry secrets, said the fox. The more we ignore them, the heavier they become. The fox fixed his hard, golden gaze upon the orphan girl. Are you ready to name it yet, this thing you carry? The orphan girl squeezed her eyes shut. No, I am not. Then they will keep coming for you, said the fox, and for all of us. When the orphan girl looked up, the fox had gone, and the trees moaned in the wind, as if they knew she had failed them.